Welcome to the Business Growth Podcast. Today I'm here with Dylan, the CEO and founder of Fabbi LLC. Welcome to the show.
All right. Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Alrighty, so tell us a little bit more. What do you guys do at Fabbi LLC?
Sure. So we're very much proactive thinkers. We're not just the typical accounting firm that's just crunching numbers. We're really a financial partner for small to medium-sized businesses and obviously entrepreneurs. We handle everything from the basic books, AR and AP, all the way to the complex tax strategies and tax planning. Once we help you save that money in taxes, we help you invest it doing wealth management.
Okay, cool. And then what led you to starting the business?
Sure. So when I was growing up, my parents were business owners, and I wish that they had someone like myself and my team that's helping them. They really were doing everything on paper. It was very unorganized, and they could have built an actual real business empire if they had someone like myself, leading the way, financially and in terms of providing them the numbers that they actually needed. Because obviously numbers are super important, and if you don't know any numbers, always gonna be stressed out, not gonna know what's gonna happen the next month, and you're basically just winging business.
Right. So you felt like they weren't as financially literate as what they should
They
have been,
weren't as
and as a
financially
result they
literate,
weren't.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. And then I saw when we spoke last, you are looking now to create like a marketing plan, aside from just relying on referrals. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah. So we started off doing a little bit more of like a Facebook ad approach. We tried focusing more on not just the regular entrepreneurs. We're trying to provide value in terms of tax strategies. In terms of the other plan that we started doing was Google local service ads. So that's actually not so common in the financial world yet. So we're trying to get a little bit more of a be on top of the game on that. And then in terms of just in general the network, so we have, as mentioned, we think out of a very good referral network. But it's obviously very important to continue networking and continue growing and continue going to these networking events and building real relationships, real referral partners in other industries.
Okay, cool. And how has those marketing efforts been going so far?
So far, we just started, so I can't tell you. I can't tell you so far. As I mentioned, the best piece of advice for anyone in the financial space is referrals. Because why would you want to trust someone online if you don't know anything about them?
Yeah.
But I think hopefully, if you build a little bit more of an online presence, people see you speak, people see you present, they see how you're actually saving people money or investing that money for them and making them money, then you should be pretty. You should go pretty well. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the referrals in person always being a little bit easier. Personally, what I've seen is the success rate of a referral coming is usually about 90%, if you know what you're talking about, versus if it's coming through a random lead online, even if it's the best case scenario where the guy needs you, it might only be, 10, 20, 30%.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, everyone's just super skeptical. I read somewhere it's something like people these days need something like 15 to 20 touch points before they buy from you as well, if they haven't heard from you. Whereas, yeah, if it's a referral, it's just people just blindly trust it.
Correct. Yeah.
And then so with these ads, what type of marketing funnel do you have set up for that?
Sure. Yeah, so I have a go high level where I have anything that's coming via paid social ads, so via Meta, Facebook, Instagram, and then the Google. So each one I'm tracking separately, and then I also have the regular referral one where I insert everything in there, and then obviously with all the automation set up, it makes it pretty seamless. Reminds them the day before, reminds them 30 minutes before, 5 minutes before. If they don't come on, you say they didn't show, follow up, and then hopefully get more bookings. So it's optimized to get people actually on.
Right. Okay. And so is it in terms of like the ads that you're running, is it more like a direct response type of thing, or is it you using like a lead magnet or something?
So it's more of like a direct response. Like the videos that I've done in the past have been more like, hey, are you sick and tired of paying in taxes? And then it's kind of like, they just press the button. We qualify them to make sure they're more of a qualified lead. So are they making X amount of money? Did they pay X amount of taxes last year? Once they fill out those two very basic, simple answers, then it'll push to me if it's qualified lead or non-qualified lead.
Right. Yeah, because that's a big thing as well with running ads. You get a lot of brokies. I know when
Yeah.
I was running ads, it was something like 70 to 80% was just broke people. So just trying to qualify them as quickly as possible was very important.
Yeah, and also like the most important part is I think time is very valuable for everyone, especially entrepreneurs and people that run their own businesses. Because if you're spending your time doing X, Y, and Z, who's gonna be doing the sales? Who's gonna be doing the ops?
Hmm.
So if you're wasting your time with people that are only gonna come on and thinking that, let's say for me, my tax returns are only $300, then we're wasting everyone's time. They have to go into it already knowing, okay, these are the expectations. You make X amount of money. This is how much you pay in taxes. So they already have a little bit of a preconceived notion, like, oh, he's dealing with the big leagues.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Your time is definitely money and making the most of it and then also seeing what the opportunity cost is depending on where you spend it because then that's also another thing trying to do everything at once but someone else could maybe be doing that and then you're losing time on something else you could be doing. And then so what are some other projects that you guys are working on at the moment aside from this new like marketing initiative?
Sure, yeah. So in terms of the actual business itself, as mentioned, we're a little bit more proactive than the traditional accounting firms. When you think of an accountant, you think of some guy crunching numbers on a computer in the corner. A little bit shy. We're, as mentioned, more proactive, a little bit more energy, a little bit more youthful. So we're not just accepting things at face value. We go in, we try to streamline things from the beginning. So we like to streamline ops. So if someone's coming in saying, "Hey, my accountant is taking me 20 hours a week," we'll say, "Well, why is it taking 20 hours a week? What can we do to implement it to make it 5 hours a week?" The numbers are the numbers. The numbers aren't going to change. There's no reason to have all these crazy systems in place when we could make a better system that's going to optimize it, streamline it, and make things a little bit more efficient and faster on everyone's end. That
Hmm.
way, we're spending less time with the nitty gritty, more time on the actual advisory services. And obviously, how's that going to make you more money, or how's that going to save you more money? And then, obviously, in terms of taxes, we have all the data that we need, and we're not backlogged, so that we could go ahead and provide the actual advice.
Nice. Yeah, I like the just question everything that they're like that you see or or that they're doing. I'm very big with everything in life. I usually do that. Everything someone tells me, I always run it through a filter and then compare it to everything else I know, and everything's just okay. Why do we do it like this? Why don't we do it like that? So, yeah, I think it's a really good approach to have with it. And then so you're questioning other people's systems, helping them with that. How about for your business? What would you say is some of the systems that you guys are working on at the moment that isn't maybe running as well as what you would like?
Yeah. So, in terms of accounting, I think the number one thing that's super important is the communication. So, what separates a guy crunching numbers from another guy crunching numbers? Not much, besides for how do they present themselves and how do they communicate with their clients. So in terms of how we communicate with clients, we have a few different methods. We create like WhatsApp group chats with every single client of ours, so it gives us easy access to speak to them, easy access for them to speak to us. Anything on their mind, we get back to them usually within 30 minutes, which is pretty good for accounting firms. When most accounting firms usually it's like a day or two later via email. That's one. Two is we also have a nice client portal app that integrates with QuickBooks, integrates with our tax software. So it's always giving them like updated financials daily, and obviously monthly when we review it and we do everything correctly, make sure everything's accurate. It's going to give them the nice financials there.
Hmm. Okay. And then so in terms of with the processes that you guys are doing, what would you say is not working like as well as what you would like?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I still think that accounting is very much based off of the staffing, right? The staff that you have, and I think in any business, it's maybe more some than others, but I think for the most part, if you have a great staff and a great team, then you're unstoppable. And if you have weak links, then there are going to be some issues. So
Hmm.
when people initially scale, I would say it's probably very difficult to be able to like bite the bullet and say, okay, I don't think this person's right for the team. So I wish that's something which I would have learned a little bit earlier on in starting up the business 3 years ago. We went from 0 to 500 clients. So it's a little bit harder to now have those conversations with the clients like, hey, your manager might be leaving due to, changes in the firm, whatever it may be, when that person's been managing them for a year, versus if all in the beginning we would have gotten the right people from the get go, we could have been, let's say, theoretically at 1,000 clients or whatever the number might be. So I think
Mm.
having the right people in place, people that share your vision, and people that respect you and respect what you're actually doing. I think those things alone are very valuable, and that could take a business from being just a mediocre business to a very successful business.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, everyone is so important. Yeah, the team that you have, and then the culture that creates as well. I've seen in a couple of different businesses I've worked how um, impact it can have, like one person coming in, and then how it impacts everyone. So it's, yeah, definitely with that. And then you said, so you guys have been doing a little bit of AI stuff as well, and you said one of the challenges with that was that the AI stuff needs quite a lot of oversight. Can you walk me through a little bit more in terms of like what did you guys try and how did that go?
Sure. Yeah. So actually, let me just comment back on the last thing you mentioned about the culture. So recently, we just brought on someone who worked in corporate America, and it is a complete game changer. Like they come in, they know all the systems, all the processes. Everyone knows exactly what to be doing now. So it just changes. And as mentioned before, having the right people in place, you go from being, let's say, a mediocre run firm to being now completely efficient. All the KPIs are running in your way. Um, yeah. So now going back to answer your question in terms of the AI. So obviously, I think AI is super important. I think AI is going to help a lot of accountants. I think we discussed this on a prior call, but in terms of the actual accounting shortage that there actually is, it's very hard to find junior accountants or people that are coming in and wanting to run numbers. It's just not happening anymore. So I think AI is going to eventually do a lot of the basic accounting, and then it's going to be people overseeing that accounting, making sure it's actually being done properly, and then as mentioned, being more of a consultant slash advisor than than doing the nitty gritty work. At the end of the day, clients are clients. Clients like to have human to human experiences, and I think that what we have is obviously much better than, let's say, ChatGPT or OpenAI or whatever it is, giving you projections and telling you what to do about your business. You're probably going to lean more towards the person giving you real advice than ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So in terms of like what we've done in terms of AI, so we had a developer develop some software for us where it's going into, let's say, QuickBooks or Xero or whatever accounting software you're using. It's using historical data to basically run like a kind of like an AI bot going into each of the clients. The only thing which was great about that, or was good, is that every day you knew the clients were being done. The problem with that is that there has to be a lot of oversight because it wasn't smart enough to, let's say, keep track of, let's say, even basic things. Unfortunately, McDonald's was sometimes calling it software instead of meals. People going to go get gas, they were calling it something else. So it does need a lot of oversight, which then ends up being a whole efficient KPI issue, which is, do I focus on the AI, or do I focus on just having a staff member do it correctly the first time, so I don't have to have the headaches? So
Hmm.
that's still up in debate. We're still testing it out. Hopefully, it gets a little bit better. But for the most part, I think right now the human judgment is typically a little bit better than the automatic AI bot.
Right. So essentially you're using AI to classify transactions from like a bank.
Classified transactions, vendor names. Yeah, it wasn't doing any like the reporting or any of that stuff. Even for tax return stuff, it would scan documents and then input it into the return from a preparer's end. They weren't going in and actually inputting in information. It was more of just a first level review, ensuring it went to the right places, and then let's say the manager would come in, do a triple review, make sure everything was in the right places. But you could be surprised. Like you would think it would go in the right place, and it could be the complete opposite, and then it ends up affecting the whole return. From, let's say, someone getting a refund to owing money. So it's pretty important that things go in the right place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's pretty interesting. It wasn't able to get everything right. And then, so let's say, what's kind of like the next steps with AI for your business? So I always like to ask if you could have a like AI robot come into your business and take one task or something off your plate, what would you get it to do and why?
Yeah. So if AI was coming in, I would love it to do exactly what I was just mentioning. I want to make sure that all the basic categories, basic categorizations, payees, vendors, all that stuff is correct based off of historical data, based off of it, research online, whatever it may be. Excuse me. So that's for sure number one. And then number two is obviously it's doing the review. So it's now freeing up my managers or the higher level people from, instead of doing the review and making sure that everything's accurate, they already know it's accurate. So now they're just now providing the actual advisory services. So, for example, hey, this month your profit margin is only 20%. Last month it was 40. What happened over here? What can we do to make sure that's always consistently at 40 versus having this fluctuation?
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So essentially, just having a better version of what you already have with it, just classifying the transactions, but just getting it right.
Just getting it right. I mean, it would be cool also if like AI could start looking at the financials. Test it out on ChatGPT. It's not so good, but like you take a look at the financials, you copy it, you throw it into ChatGPT, you say, advise me on this. It doesn't really spit out much because it doesn't know anything about the client, right?
Right.
A client that's in manufacturing is gonna be very different than the clients in the real estate, and the client in real estate is gonna be very different than the person that's doing Amazon. So I think that it doesn't know well at all, and also how
Yeah.
the client works. Like sometimes they'll give you advice like take out a loan. This client doesn't want to do a loan because they don't like debt. You know,
Hmm. Right. So it's giving more like generic
generic.
answers.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. I know we're starting to run out of time here, so one of the questions I also is like, what's one of the like most valuable lessons that you've learned since starting your own business, or multiple lessons if you can't think of a single one?
Yeah, yes, I have a few. I think the number one is taking ownership. At the end of the day, it's your name, your brand. So you could have all the right people in place, but still you're the owner. So if things come down to it, you're gonna have to own up to whatever happened. Actually, recently just happened. You know, nobody's perfect. We had an employee who was working on an account, and we were waiting a very long time for the client to provide us information. End up being we kept following up the client. End up being that we end up filing late due to the client not providing the information on time. So we have it in their scope of work that if the client doesn't provide the information in time, then obviously we're going to file late. The client was not happy about it. We had a conversation. We are like, listen, we're sorry. We take full ownership that we obviously didn't file it on time. However, you only got it to us the night before deadline. I'm sorry. So that's like one scenario. Obviously, there's more scenarios where we could take on more ownership, but typically it's all the client wants to hear is like, you're right. Sorry. We'll do a little bit better next time. We'll be a little bit more communicative or whatever it has to be in order for them to make sure that we can continue working with them.
Yeah. Okay. And I think did you said you had another one as well, or that's the main?
So that. I think that is the main one.
Okay.
I think also like obviously as I mentioned before, time is very important. So just in terms of like my schedule, what I do usually the night before or right when I finish work that day, I kind of plan out my day for the following day. So I know exactly what I'm gonna be doing, what I could be accomplishing, and then it gets a little tough. Sometimes people get blinded by all the things that are happening, all the fires that they put out, all the chaos that's happening during the week. But usually try to reflect on whatever happened that week that was positive, so that you're not always thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm in accounting, what's happening to my life. It's always, you go back to it, you can think, wow, I can't believe I saved that client X amount of money, or these clients commented on the presentation of the financials, so something along those lines.
Mm-hmm. Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm a bit the same as well. I usually review my day every single day and then make a list of tasks for the next day, and then usually for the week as well. So yeah, I'm very just doing that. And also, like you're saying, just celebrating the little wins is also very big. Like entrepreneurship is very tough. Running a business is very tough. So if you can get like these small little wins and you can celebrate it as small as like you said, you had a good presentation. Someone said something like that. Yeah, I think that definitely helps keep you motivated to keep going through the tough times.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. Well, it's been great having you on the show. Where can people go to find a little bit more about you and what you guys do?
Yeah, sure. Google, you can look up regular Fabbi.co. That's our main parent website. And then once you go on there, you'll be able to click all the different services that we have, which will take you to different landing pages. So as mentioned, the accounting side of things, tax side of things, we have the wealth management, and then the special for tax strategy. There's something called cost aggregation studies that we started doing about 6 months ago, helping people save money on taxes. And yeah,
Alrighty, awesome. Well, it's been great having you on. You guys have been listening to
uh,
the Business Growth Podcast. Keep growing.